Hey guys, it's zMetapod here, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to make a video on basically PvP and setting up your formations and understanding commanders, gear to kind of give yourself the best way to make yourself a competitive formation to where against other free-to-plays you can usually do well, and against maybe let's say a whale, you can at least probably do a little bit of damage before going down. So, unfortunately, yes, this game is going to be very biased towards people who spend. They're going to be able to get better gear, better commanders. Just it's going to be hard to face someone who spent a lot of money. So I'm hoping that this kind of quick little guide on understanding your formations can help you at least be successful against other free to plays. So let's get started by looking first at commanders. Now, I have spent some money on this game, so as you can see here, I have some of the better commanders in the game, for especially for a Season 1. I have Dane, Galadriel, Aragorn, and Gandalf the White. They are all mythic commanders, but to kind of help everyone understand how everything works, I'm actually going to turn off my main commanders and just look at maybe more of the commanders that you guys might have. So, let's get started first on understanding the different types of commanders. So as I look through commanders, you can see up here there's a little icon, right? This tells you different things about different commanders. So looking at Merry and Pippin, let's click. This is a support character, healing or buffs to allies. Then we have Theoden, who is a damage commander, and they are the ones who do the main damage in your formation. And then Frodo and Sam, of course, we have the Bastion, which is they're very good at uh, pretty much absorbing damage and staying alive a long time to give your damage commanders more of a chance to stay alive in fights as well. So, looking at that, let's take a look at some of the better commanders we have in the game. So, I think almost everyone has Dwalin. He is one of the first starting commanders here, and he is a damage commander. Now, he is a very specific type of damage commander. He does skill damage. What I mean by that is that all commanders have a skill. Some of all skills do something different, but for Dwalin specifically, he does most of his damage through his commander skills. So he does the damage himself. If you look at here, his Experienced Warrior at 10 out of 10, it does 200% physical damage to 2 enemy formations. And of course, these have extra buffs as you level them up, so +6 up to 5 stacks, and then +5 attack at level 10. And then his other big one is Durin's Blood, which is 700% to 1 to 2 formations, and then etc. So he does his damage basically through his skills. So I call him a skill damage commander. Let's go back to Theoden for a second. Looking at Theoden, he is also a damage commander, but he is a different kind of damage commander. He does not do damage through his skills. His skills buff his units. So he is a troop damage commander, is what I like to call them. So let's look at his skills. First, we have the Renewed. So this is damage dealt by the commander's formation plus 3%. So when it says formation, it means the commander and the units. If it says units only, it's only going to do stuff for the units in the formation, not Theoden himself. So let's look here. So here we have mounted units. So Theoden, of course, King of Rohan, all about the horse lords. So he definitely is going to be able to do more damage with mounted units. So most of his skills help with mounted units. So this would be your goat riders, your cavalry of any kind. They will do more damage with Theoden if you use him like that. So just looking at that, his skills all do stuff for mounted units. So he is a unit damage commander. He does not do damage himself with his skills. His skills buff his troops to do damage. So he is a troop damage dealer. And then there's one more type of damage dealer, which I need to just quickly touch on, and the only one I can think of that I have is Galadriel. Now, she is a support here, but she does what we call focus damage. So she also does damage with her skills, but she uses, instead of physical damage, focus damage. If you play any type of game that involves a mage class, you know that they do magic damage. It's the same thing. It's just called focus damage in this game. So as you can see here, 140% focus damage to 3 formations once, 320% focus damage here. So she can be damage or support. She does have 2 supports as well, healing HP, which is why she has that support thing. So those are the 3 kinds of damage commanders. So don't only assume because they have this icon that they are just that one thing. Galadriel, I would say, is more of a damage dealing character, but you can also run her as support. It works just as well, in my opinion. So now let's go back to what we were looking at before, just these two. Let's get rid of the mythic. All right. So basically, next we need to understand what each commander stats are. So as you can see here, let's go back to Dwalin for now, since he's the most common damage dealer probably. So we have a sword, a shield, kind of looks like a brain, and then speed. So basically this is your attack. This is basically, it's just physical damage is your attack. Your defense, it's what it is, you resist physical damage, not focus damage. That's important to understand. This is physical damage only. Then you have the focus, which we talked about with Galadriel. It's how she does damage, but it also helps with burn, poison, and it reduces the amount of damage that you take from those types as well. So a commander that does a lot of burn damage, having high focus to counter that is good for defense. And then last we have initiative here, which basically tells you how fast you're going to go. If you have higher initiative than the opposing your enemy's formation, you will go first. The higher the initiative, the faster you will be. So if you have high initiative, it just means you're going to go first. Initiative is not the most important stat, but it can be on certain characters. So those are just the basic ones here. We have damage, defense, focus, and initiative. That's where you will find these stats. Next, we have three more main stats here. We have damage, which this determines the ability to inflict all types of damage. The higher the damage is on a commander, the more the the higher the minimum value is of what you will do. So for Dwalin's case, he does physical damage. So the higher his commander damage is, the highest the minimum base of damage he will be. So you want this number to be very high. So 21 to 28 for this is not so bad, but if you look at my Dane, who is really high, he's at 35 to 52, which means that his minimum base damage is going to basically be close to doubling what Dwalin could do. So Dane should always do more damage than Dwalin because of this stat right here. So next, let's look at HP. So this just is the amount of damage that your commander can take. So once, of course, that goes out, your commander is no longer able to be in the battle, and they will be considered not, I guess, dead. So that's the HP stat. It's not a very important stat. Of course, you want it to go up, but it's not really going to affect anything that you do in the game. So don't worry too much about HP. It's great for taking tiles early. That's about it. And then the next one is probably the most confusing stat in the game. That is command. So command does a lot of things. So command is what you want for your supports, for your tanks, and also for troop damage dealers because it does a lot. So when looking at command, it reduces the amount of damage that you receive. So unfortunately here, my Dane has very low command. He's one of the low commands. So let's look at a commander like Gandalf the White. He has very high command. So like his base value is 167. That's very high. So first off, the damage received by the commander's formation is minus 21.7%. That's basically 1/5 of all damage he's supposed to receive. 1/5 of it, he's just negating it. It doesn't do as much damage. Damage dealt by the commander's formation is also plus 1/5 basically, plus 21%, 22%. That's insane. So command is good for reducing damage taken and for dealing damage with units. And then last, healing granted by the commander's formation. This adds plus 50% healing. If you have, of course, that depends on the stat, but plus 50% healing is huge on a commander that does heal. For example, Galadriel can heal. Actually, no, Radagast is probably the best healer in the game. So let's look at him. So he has 210, and look at his skills. He does lots of healing, 200%, 7. So in this case for Radagast, you want him to have probably pretty high command to do extra healing along with focus, because focus will increase his healing as well. If you look at his skills here, modified by the focus stat, which means focus stat also increases the amount of healing that he does. But if we go back to where we were with the stats, command plus 38.7% to his healing as well. So for a commander like Radagast, you're looking for high focus gear along with anything that has command on it as well. So to kind of explain this a little more, we now need to go look at some gear. So let's look at some items here. So my best item that I currently have is the Axe of Khazad-dûm. It is the best weapon for physical damage dealing commanders like Dane, Gimli, Dwalin, Legolas, those guys. You want these types of weapons that have commander damage and commander attack, because commander attack is the physical damage. This would not work on Galadriel, for example, because she does not want commander attack. She wants focus. She wants focus. So we look here, the Exocast of Doom, it gives you commander damage. If we go back to Dane here, you see I have it on him. Let's look at his base damage, which is 23 to 26. I have a bonus of 12 to 25. A lot of that bonus comes from here because this is 9 to 21 possible extra on the minimum scale of damage he can do. And that also goes here. So you want to find things that combine to give yourself more commander damage and commander attack. So right now I have 180 command attack on Dane, so he's gonna be doing a lot of damage from my formation. And then the the damage stat here is being between 35 and 52, meaning that he's going to have a higher minimum base amount of damage than most other commanders because he has such a high damage stat. So when it comes to the damage dealing commanders, you want high damage and you also want high commander attack. You also want high attack. So what does that look like for maybe a commander like Dwalin, who probably doesn't have a whole lot of options when you have less stuff? So these are Dwalin's base stats. I have him at respect 10, which is really high, but let's look here. First, we need to look at this type of gear. So to help you kind of find the gear that you want, you can click this button here. And we're looking for commander damage, which is what we want, and then commander's attack. These are the two most important stats that we want on a specific item for Dwalin, since that's what he does. I'll get into sets later. Maybe I'll do that in a different video, but for now, let's just focus on this. So, we're looking here. Of course, this is the best item in the game, but Dwalin is not my best character, so I don't want that on him. But, let's look here. This battle axe is purple. It's the medium gear. This is also a very good option. So, we see it's 5 to 7 commander damage. The spread is close, so you know kind of where he's going to be when he attacks, and it gives plus 6 attack. Let's look at a basic weapon here. So just this. This is only 2 to 4 and only plus 2 attack. So if we're going just based on that, we would want to give him this battle axe for more just damage and then commander attack. So we can put that on him. So as you can see, that increased his stats. He now has more damage and more commander damage as well here. If I unequip it, you can see everything goes down. If I equip it, it goes back up. So we already know he's going to be doing more damage. Next, his helmet. So helmets, unfortunately, do not do damage as a stat, as a primary stat. So we actually have to take that off. But we are still looking for commander attack here. Most all helmets are either going to give you, so this is my best one, it's going to give you attack or typically HP, and some even do give command. So both are good. So again, my best commanders are these guys, so I'm not going to give them that. But I do have a full helm, which gives plus 6 commander attack, which is very good. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on to increase more base damage for physical damage here. Alright, so next we go onto the chest, and it's kind of the same thing. We're looking for high attack ones. So let's go to, let's just do a blue this time. So in terms of blue, we have this one gives a commander attack, commander defense. Commander defense is not a useful stat, but it's not terrible either. So we're just going to give him a leather armor. And then we're also going to go in here, and we can see here that I actually don't have any blue accessories that do that. So if you have a blue accessory, you're probably going to want to just give what you can to him here. Like if I just take off this and it shows my blue. Yeah, in terms of blue accessories, I don't have a whole lot. It gives command, which is not a bad stat on a damage dealer, but like for example here, I can go with this if I wanted to, but since I have it, I'm just going to go with one of these. So I'm going to actually go with the Heathling because it gives attack. It also gives unit attack, which is good for a damage dealer as well. So here we go. We have Dwalin here, kind of with some base gear, but this is very ideal for him because it's going to be giving him the highest amount of attack possible with what we have, along with upping his damage as well. So that is kind of like just the base way to understand how to make your commanders. So next, let's look at it like kind of a defensive commander like Boromir. So here, he's a Bastion. He's good at absorbing damage. And if you look at his skills, this actually ups. He actually gives damage to other formations, which is great. He also provides evasion, and if you get him to respect 4, he actually can up his own defense for his formation and make himself very tanky. So I want to do something that'll make him tanky, but also will take advantage of this. When you click on a skill, you'll see right here, modified by some sort of stat. Here, it's his command stat. And if you hit here, for every 100 command that Boromir has, the attack for that will be given by this skill here will be +3 for every 100 command. So let's say I had 200 command on Boromir here. That would be +6 to this. So he's already giving +18 attack here. But if I would got the command to 200, it would now add +6 would be 24 attack for 3 formations. Actually, 4 if you got this to all full points to 10 out of 10. So, knowing what we know, we want defense because he's a tank, and we also want command as the primary stat. So let's go look at some things here. So ignore this. I was using him for siege. That's why this is here. But let's look at some gear that I have. So you can go here to help. We're looking for commander's command. We want command on it here. And then also, we kind of want unit defense. We want him to survive. Don't worry about commander defense because commanders won't take a whole lot of damage until all the units are dead. So you want to focus on unit defense if you can. So using those, let's see what we got here. So this is a very good item right here. The Cutlass. If it's purple, it's very good. It's very high. As you can see, the difference between a blue and a purple in terms of command is very high. So whenever you get a purple or even a gold weapon, like look at the command, it's 110. That's very high. But it gives commander focus, which we don't really want on Boromir. It does give some unit defense, but I would say for this it's better on a different commander because we don't want focus on Boromir. He's not doing any focus damage. So let's go back to the Cutlass here. So it gives 65 command at base value along with 5 unit defense. That's really good. So we want to probably use this. If you don't have a purple, look for something that has the highest command here in the blues as well. But we're going to go with this since we have it. So next we go into the helmets. Again, we want something with high command and also unit defense. This gives unit attack. That's not bad. But typically, Boromir's not going to be doing a whole lot of damage himself, but command is such a good stat. I would say this is also okay, but just to keep it to where whatever you can do, let's go with one of these. So this gives unit attack and defense, and this has some command on it, so we'll add this. Next, armor. So here, again, armor does not give the command stats. So we want to take that off. It's probably going to give HP. Almost all armor gives mainly HP, so you don't have to worry about too much. So here, again, I have here, we're looking for unit defense if we don't have command. So we're looking for unit defense. This has good unit defense, +6, +1. So we don't want commander defense, we want unit defense. So we don't want this type. Well, this is all that's available for me, apparently. Hold on. Yeah, I have unit defense. I guess that's the only blue that gives unit defense that I currently have. So just for this, I'm just going to add this in because probably a lot of people don't have purples. But if you do, this would be the best purple option. So actually, I'll just go ahead and throw that in anyways. But you understand kind of what's going on here and looking at what stats you need to be on the lookout for the different commanders. And then, of course, last we have the artifact, the accessory, sorry. And these as well also give command, a lot of them do, so you want to look for those. I say for purple, the Drums of Moria is the best one because it gives unit defense and good command, but just to say you guys don't have a whole lot of purples, we're going to go blue. So this gives this and it gives unit attack and defense, so we'll just go with that. And just like that, he's almost at 200 command, so that's basically going to be +6 to his skill, so that's good. We're getting that up. As you progress through the game, you'll get better gear, which will allow you to get that command stat up more, which will mean Boromir will be more useful as a tank. So that's kind of what you want to look for in a tank commander, which is command, because remember what the command stat does. It reduces the amount of damage taken, and you want your tank commander to be alive as long as possible, because he takes away chances for your damage commanders to get hit. So you want him to be alive as long as possible. So command is the best stat for defensive commanders as well. But since he's focused on units as well, unit defense is the best as well in terms of gear. All right, so that's kind of a tank commander and building him together. And remember, when you build a commander, always look at what their skills increase from. He does commands. That's perfect. We have a tank commander that scales with command, which is perfect. That means as you make him more tanky, he's going to be doing more with his skills as well to help the team. So here, nothing will happen here. But again, here, the plus defense uh, for his formation will go up, and that's also modified for command. So that'll be one for every 100 commands. So we're at 200 command. That'd be another plus two. If this gets all the way maxed out, it's actually quite a lot. You can click this button to see maxed out. It'd be 7, and it stacks up to 7 times. So let's say you get the full stacks. That's 49, and then add on plus 2. It'd be 9 times 7. That's 9 times 7 is 56, I think. 63. Yeah, it's 63. I'm really bad at math. Sorry about that. But yeah, just basically, that's why you want stuff like that. So now, let's go into the other type, which is a support character. So let's look at the support characters that you guys might have. So let's get rid of the mythic and look at the epic and legendary. So probably the best support character you can get as early is either Frodo and Sam. Boromir's a good one. Oh, well, Boromir's not really a support, so never mind. I'd say, well, Frodo and Sam's not one either, sorry. I would say it's probably Gandalf the Grey for early. Gandalf the Grey is a wonderful option for people who can get him to respect 2. He really needs to be respect 2 before he gets useful because of his main skill here, which is White Council, probably the most broken skill in the game because it gives a percentage damage reduction, which is modified by the focus stat. And if you click on that, for every 100 focus, it goes up 20%. If you get high focus on this, you can basically negate up to like 90% damage. It's insane. So you definitely want to look out for stuff like that. So this says it's modified for the focus stat. So of course, focus is important. But also, he has other skills like here to heal, and that's probably another skill we'd want. So when building a character like Gandalf the Great, we want to look for focus, but at the same time, we also want him to be doing heals as well. So we also want command. We're looking for focus and command gear to make him well here. So let's get rid of all of this, unequip all of this, and let's go in and try to build a Gandalf the Grey together. So then we know the main skill that we want. I would not recommend Gandalf the Grey unless you get him to respect 2, just because White Council is just that good. Without that, I would recommend maybe a 1 tank, 3 damage dealing comp, so at least where you're doing more damage, but when you get a support that's good, I would recommend putting them in. So we want that, and then we also want the healing. So we'll do that for now, and then let's go in. So once you get to a high level, the reason I'm going to say once you get to a high level, because not many items do this, but for example, this sword, the Noldor sword, it gives command, but also a high amount of focus. So it's giving us the command to increase our healing, reduce the damage we receive, and goes into the focus goes into other things as well. So it makes our White Council even stronger to reduce more damage. So I would recommend the Noldor sword, but since it's on my Gandalf the White, we cannot give it to him. So instead we're going to look for a different weapon. So remember, we want command, but we also want focus for commanders. We're not really looking at that. So let's go. Looking here. We don't have a whole lot. So I would say probably the Uruk crossbow is probably one of the best for purples. The Elven Dirk gives commander damage, which we don't really want. It does give 3 focus though, but we're probably going to go with the Uruk crossbow. It gives 3 focus. It gives defense, which is good, and command. So we want that on him. So we're going to do that. For blues, probably something like the Ranger's Dagger might be the only off. I don't know if any of these give command. Oh, the Orc Scimitar gives command. That's not bad. But only 1 focus, not so good. Here, I don't really know what a lot of these do. I don't use too much blue, but yeah. So just in general, I would probably say the Scimitar because it gives command over the little bit about of focus it gives, but you could also run the focus and go with a dagger instead if you wanted to, but I'm going to stick to what we have now. So next, going back into the helmet, we want high focus with command if we can. So typically the best helmet that we can have here, like here, this gives some focus and command. So the Trapper's Hood is a good option. I'm going to throw that on. So we're already at 200 command, which is nice. 50 focus, which is not bad. We're going to go into the chest now. Now I do have some, so you're not going to find anything that does Commander's Command here. For chest, it just doesn't do it, so don't ever worry about that, but we're looking for focus here. That's what we want possibly with this. So this would probably be here. The Hunter skin gives 5 focus, is good. For blue, I would probably say the Garrison coat is probably your best option, so we'll just throw that in. And then of course the last one will be here. I don't have any blue boots. Do they even do blue boots? I'm not sure. Well, no blue boots to do what I want them to do. Like, they don't give any focus. I don't think the boots give focus at all. So, if you can, you probably want to avoid green. They're not very good. Green is the absolute worst. So you want to go with something maybe purple. So, I'm just going to throw this on because this is good. It gives... Well, no, because we also want some commands. So, the Hobbit Fiddle is also a good option, but at the end of the day, focus is the best stat we can look for. So even still, focus is totally fine. If you want to focus 100% on focus, that's fine. So yeah, I'll just throw that in. So now we're at 61 focus with 200 command, which means we're going to be taking less damage. And also, if we go back, for every 100 focus, we're doing 20% more. So it's already 18%. So we didn't make it to 100, but we're at 61. So we'll be doing about 12% more, so it's about 30% damage reduction on top of our already damage reduction with our command, which would be 17%, 30, so it's like almost 50% damage reduction just with that, which can keep your formation alive longer. So that's why it's important to look at the skills and then what goes well with the skill, along with what the commander wants to do. So one more time, just to kind of summarize again, Dwalin is a damage dealing commander, so we want his attack to be high along with his damage. So we looked for, and then if you look at his stats, nothing here really goes up with anything. So we just want to make sure that our physical damage is as high as possible along with the damage. So we went with gear that gives commander damage and commander attack, which is what we wanted. That's why this is the gear that we chose. So now you have the gear that you want on your commander. But as you can see, the stats aren't that great, and we want those stats to go up, right? So let me show you an item that I have here. So here's the base, 5 to 7 with 6 attack. But if you see here, we have Strengthen and Refine. These are two important things to note. Strengthen focuses on these stats here, the secondary stats. So commander attack and defense is what happens if you strengthen a weapon. Refining does the primary stat, which would be the commander damage. So it's important to know the difference in what you need to do to upgrade a weapon to certain things. So let's again undo all of my things here. So I'm just going to bring everyone in along with the weapons. So let's look at Aragorn, because I have all purples, and this should be the goal that you want to set for yourself. Having a full set of purples early is great. So let's look at the battle axe. Before, remember, if I go back to, hold on, let me undo all of these. All right, that should show. So look, if we go back to here, Aragorn's current battle axe does 9 to 12, 18 attack, and 6 defense, compared to Dwalin's, which is only 5 to 7 and 6. Literally, this is 2 times as good. This is 3 times as good. So how did we get here? So basically, I use Strengthen and Refine, which I talked about a little bit. So to strengthen an item, I'm going to do blues because I have some blues I can use here. So let's go back to Dwalin, and I'm actually going to give him some of the better blue gear that we can do. Actually, maybe... No, we'll go Dwalin. So I'm going to unequip everything here and make sure it's all blue so it's easy to tell, because most of you will have blue gear to start. So first, I want to find the one that has the best commander damage, commander attack, which is probably, honestly, the Uruk Pike, but this isn't bad. 2 to 4, 2 and 2, 8 and 3. But no, we want the most attack we can possibly do, which I believe is the Uruk-hai Pike. Yeah, it's 3 commander attack. That's why we want this. So we're going to give him this. we know there's not going to be any type of commander damage for helmets, so we're just going to do this for helmets. Flay is a good one to have, possibly. We already have the best one here for that, and now we go on to here. I'm going to give him a blue because, I mean, it's just unfortunate, but there are no blues that give that. So in this case, command is not bad to have. So we're going to try to complete a set here, which is these sets. So in case Sharp Blade gives plus 10 attack. If you get the 4-piece, it's plus 24, which is this stat here. So it's also good to do that. But I also like Flay because it ignores defense. So it's very useful to have. So I'm actually going to complete a Flay one here. So let's put this. So these are all of the items here. But this is before refining and leveling them up or strengthening. So let's start with the Uduk Pike. So first, let's start with refine because it's probably the easiest one to understand. When you refine an item, you need the exact same item. It doesn't have to have the same set, but it has to be the same item, and you use those to boost your primary stat. So let's hit refine and see here. Right now it's 2 to 4. We're going to take 1 and see. It's going to offer to which one I want to use. Now it has to be the Uduk Pike. So I'm going to choose this one and I'm going to hit OK. So for blues, it takes a little bit. It's not going to be immediate, so you can do 1 here. But once you get that second one, you see the damage is going to go up. So you have a higher chance of a little bit more damage. So let's give it another one here. Oh, I didn't do that fast, but now it's there. And now every time I do it, it's going to go up. But it also is going to cost more as it goes up. And you can refine it up to, I believe it's 5 times? I could be wrong. We'll see. This is number 3, so we'll choose these 2. All right, that's a third. For blue, it's only 4. No, wait, for blue, it's 5. Sorry. All right. I don't use blues that often, so I'm never quite sure. But actually, yes, it's 4. All right, so it's level 4, and we've now increased the damage to 3 to 7. So that's really good because the base one, if you remember, was only 2 to 4, but now it's 3 to 7, which means that the total damage, the minimum damage that Dwalin can do can go up quite a bit. So that's that. Let's also do this for his helmet. But actually, let's remember the base stats that we have, and we can compare them when we finish. So let me go back to the pike. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just going to go commander damage. That'll be so much faster. All right, yeah. So let's go back to a pike. Just a normal pike. All right. So this is base. 20 to 50, 85, 57, 36, 24. Just remember these numbers, and we'll go back over them once we do all that. So let's go back to the pike that we had already done all the way and put it back on. We can already see the difference in some stuff. So we used this pike. No, wait. No. We used this pike, sorry. All right, so now we're already at 21 to 28, which means that it goes up. Next, the helmet. Let's refine the helmets. Now, this one's going to go with our HP as we refine it. So this is going to increase the HP stat. So here, plus 40. Again, HP is not super important. It would be the last thing I'd want to refine on an item. The stats that an item gives is more important than the HP, but at the same time, it's not an awful stat to increase as well. So we're just going to increase this by refining. Sorry, I've been a little sick recently. If I cough, just my apologies. All right, so there we go. We've increased that. So now our HP went up, as you can see. Next, going in here. Again, this is going to be HP, but it's also going to be doing our HP. So we're just going to refine this up. And don't worry about doing it all the way early. As you get stronger in the game, you get better gear. You just like even a fully refined blue is probably not as good as a purple if you get it just a little bit up. So just keep that in mind. As you get higher level gears, you're going to want to use those over the lower level one, even at full refines and whatnot. So there we go. Full that. It's just going to keep doing this together. Now command, it's not the best stat on Dwalin, but it'll keep him alive a little bit longer because remember, it reduces the amount of damage that he receives. He does no healing, so it doesn't really help, but we just want to keep that in mind. That honestly, I think command is really good on damage dealing commanders as well, but typically you'd want it in the helmet if you can do it. Alright, so now we have everything fully refined. And we can see that things have changed quite a bit. Our command went up, our health went up, all of that. But these stats down here have not changed because we have not strengthened our weapons yet. So let's go strengthen. So strengthening Now, the thing about strengthening is that you don't need the specific type of weapon. You can actually use any weapon to strengthen. See, I can use Ranger's Daggers now. I can use... I have a lot of Ranger's Daggers, sorry. I can use the Hadron Bow. So basically, any weapon that you have, you can use. So I have a ton of these, so I'm just going to use these. And you can see my attack's going to start going up a little bit as we strengthen it. So one thing to keep in mind is that for refining, it takes 9 of the same weapon to get to fully maxed out for a purple and a gold. Because it's 1, 1, 2, 3, I believe. 1, 1, 2, 3. No, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, which is 9. So that's important to keep for refining. You're going to need about 9 of the same weapon. Alright, so there's the fully maxed out Uruk Pike, and let's look at our stats. We're now up to 90 damage, which is good. So that's great. So now, again, let's keep going with Commander Attack. We can use whatever. We'll use the old cask here. As we upgrade our stuff together here. Now, remember, you can use anything. I have so many old casts, I'm just using them. But you can use any item that you have here. So if there's there's an item, a piece of gear that you want to maybe keep for the future, you don't have to use it. And you don't always have to do this, but it's just a good way to improve yourself. So there you go. So again, let's look. Oh, we're up to 95 attack now. That's a huge difference from before. So now we're going to keep going. We're going to use a garrison coat here. And basically just show you guys, I'm going to use one garrison coat, and I'm just going to go find another that we can use here. Hopefully it'll find here. We'll use a hunter's coat. See, you can use whatever. It does not matter when you strengthen. Anything for gear that you have, you can use. And it does cost more items for every time you level it up, so just keep that in mind. But personally, I would always focus on one formation, so you want to give one formation the best stuff. So it's totally fine to do stuff like this. You don't need 2 main formations. One formation is totally fine. Alright, we're almost done here. And again, I just want to remind you guys that even though you can level up your blue stuff and all that, once you get purples, you typically want to move on to purples and refine those and strengthen those up because they will give better stats in the end. Alright, so if you remember our stats before, we're almost at 100 attack now. I believe we were almost at 80 before, so it's plus 18, which means he's going to be doing more damage now. So refining and strengthening a weapon is very important to improve your stats, which will let you do more damage and also maybe survive more for survivable characters as well. So I'm not going to do this for anyone else because that'll just take a long time to do it all over again, but it's just the same thing if it's, for example, if we were to do Boromir, we would just do the same thing. We would refine. I currently don't have, oh, I do have another cutlass here I could do. So for purple, it actually goes up a lot more. Look at that. 13 is the difference here. So as you get into purples, it's a lot more, along with golds as well. So that's just important to keep in mind. All right, so that's kind of the basics of just understanding how to kind of set up your commanders in formation. All right, so kind of last thing we need to talk about is just kind of setting up your formation for success. So typically the ones with the higher respect levels will be better, but not always. But let's make like a basic formation here. So let's look at something like, let's look at my B formation that I could make. So like I said, I think that 1 support, 1 tank, and 2 damage dealers are the best. So Radagast is a support, so I want him there. Boromir is a tank, so I want him here, and then I want my 2 damage dealers. If you could set up a formation that has something like this, you're going to be very successful. If you don't have a support, it's okay. I would still recommend 1 tank, and then you can go with a 3rd damage dealer. Like I could do Legolas, so it'd be 3. And then 1 tank in Boromir. So that's kind of all you need to know to kind of get the basics of how to start your formation. If you have any questions, of course, you can just hit me up at the Discord, and I'll be happy to answer them. But other than that, fix your formations, and let's get ready for some PvP, guys. Alright, see ya.